we got some Illinois chatter from the coaching staff here that I want to get your thoughts on, Riley. The Illinois coaching staff said that they expect Kylan Boswell to be, and I quote, one of the most premier players in college basketball. Now, I've had a lot of discussions with Illinois here on the channel with many others on kind of like one, what is this team going to be? Like, who's going to be the best player? Who's going to be the lead guard? Like, who's going to be the guy that does everything on this team? I feel like it's changed a lot. Like, I think people have talked about Big T being the best player. Kylan being this lead guard, also the leader of the team, it seems to be like Kylan Boswell is the mouthpiece for the team, like kind of talking in leadership and both by example and just verbally. But what do you take from Illinois' coaching staff saying that they expect Kylan Boswell to be one of the most premier players in college basketball? And then I guess I'll follow it up with like, could he be?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating for sure, just because, you look at Illinois' offseason where they spent big on Andrei Stojakovic. That felt like a late offseason coup to get him. I think he hit the portal like maybe even the last day it was open. They presumably spent big on Mihailo Petrovic as well. You brought in these reinforcements to reload from your two first-round picks, leaving with Will Riley and Kaspers Yakashonis. But sometimes I think the shiny new toys aren't always the best players. Like that, there's still, I mean, Kylan Boswell fans love to remind you how young Kylan Boswell is. He still has another level he can reach. He's still a long way from his prime and from hitting his peak. And I don't hate this quote. I definitely find it interesting that I think it was Tyler Underwood who said the quote 24/7 that he expects him to be one of the premier players. Like you're mentioning that, it's always tough to distinguish what is just coach speak, what's lies. We generally like lies from coaches
Mm.
at this time of the year. It's pretty fun, gives us content, but it strikes me as something worth monitoring. Just that, like, the star power you brought in, and yet you still make sure that Kylan is getting some recognition. And the more I look at how he closed the season, Cart, the more I look at how he was able to coexist with Kasparis. I don't think that should be an issue with Petrovic. I I kind of buy it.
Yeah,
I
listen.
don't know. Maybe one of the premier players is a bridge too far, but like one of the better players in the Big Ten, one of Illinois' two best players next to Big T, like there's a world where it happens.
Yeah, I listen. I actually am a believer that this quote isn't that much like out of line. To be honest with you, like, look, this Colin Boswell, like we always say with him, he's not even 21 yet. This is a 20-year-old senior. I think he'll be 21 when the season starts. He was one of the younger players. He was a reclass. He transferred into Illinois back home to Champaign and is now in his senior year. And it's like it's kind of his team. Like it might be Big T could be the best player. I think Big T will be the best player. I think that they'll also have other guys contributing, but like Kyle, this is Kylan Boswell's team. He's getting the keys. He's going to be running the show, and we have a 2-year sample size where this guy shot 39 and 38% from three. Last year
Mhm.
that tanked. He only shot 24% from three. That killed him. But I think as an on-ball defender, Kylan Boswell can be a pit as a point of attack defender. I think that I see him more as a three-point shooter closer to that 35% range. And if he does that, I mean, he rebounds well for his size. He passes well. He's definitely, like I said, a pest on the defensive end. Now, like when I think premier players in college basketball, I think like All-American. So I guess you got to get guys'
Right.
definition of premier basketball player. But I think there's a world where Kylan Boswell is a premier player in the Big Ten, a player that's maybe underappreciated across the country. And when you make a list of point guards, I'm not saying he's an All-American by any extent. And honestly, it's going to be hard to be the best point guard in the Big Ten when you have the Braden Smiths, the Donovan Dents, the Bennett Sturts of the world and everything.
You
But
could
like
you
Kylan,
can throw in your guy Cart.
floor general, salute. Uh, I I think that Kylan Boswell does have a chance to be one of the premier players in college basketball. And define
Mhm.
premier however you want, but I think he could be a damn good basketball player on both ends of the floor. And what I think would get him to the point where he is in that kind of realm, I guess, too, would be results based, right? If you're a 12-5-4 guy and you're shooting good from three in the field and you're really good defensively and like, oh shit, this Illinois team is one of the better teams in the Big Ten, one of the better teams in the country, that's when I think the accolades will start to, I think we'll get a little bit more recognition.
Dion, you okay? You look a little sweaty.
So every August, September, my air conditioning breaks, and there's just nothing I can do about it.
Dude, that's tough. Out in California too? Like, I mean, what is it, like 80 degrees still there today?
Today's gonna be like 85, 90, but like peak summer, it gets to like 110. My AC just doesn't ever hold up.
I mean, it sounds like it's a bummer that you can't take advantage of Duncan Mechanical Solutions because Duncan Mechanical Solutions is an HVAC company based in Angola, servicing the tri-state area, bringing commercial quality to the residential world with excellent customer service. You heard us talk about Duncan Mechanical last summer. If you need heating or air conditioning, kitchen or bath remodeling, or all of the above, Duncan Mechanical is the place to go in the Midwest. Go to DuncanMechanicalSolutions.com to take advantage and make sure you don't wind up like Dion.
Yeah, I do think the team's success, if he's only putting up 12 a game, the team success is going to have to play a heavy factor into it. Like they'll need to be a top 10 team for him to have any hope of like first team all conference, let's say. However, I think sometimes these stats can be deceiving. Let me get on the front end of this and point that out. Like my own fan base did this with Van Allen Lubin last year, highlighting his last 7 games at Vanderbilt to like give themselves some hope.
Mm.
But the last 7 games last season, Kylan averaged 17 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. And I get stats only tell part of the story. It is a small sample size, but just going back and watching some highlights or either performances down the stretch, I thought his 2-man game with Big T was really good. That
Mm.
was something where they seemed really dialed in, where they were just feeding each other. I think Kylan's always been really, really impressive in terms of collapsing a defense and finding shooters along the perimeter. I think that's probably his best offensive attributes. He can get a paint touch and really good vision to find the open man. But alongside Big T, like, they're running actions around Big T in the high post or using him in like forwards out type action. And he's finding Kylan for shots around the basket. And I think Kylan has that strong frame to finish through contact. I know he doesn't get to the free throw line a ton, but he can get there enough. And I think having that chemistry worked out already, and I'm a big believer in Petrovic's talent, but just the history that he has with a full year. And granted, maybe Petrovic played with Ivisic some in the ABA. I don't know if they're ever teammates, but I didn't for sure fact check it. But yeah, the chemistry he already has with Kylan, I think could be huge to see. I wouldn't say I'm expecting him to come out and average 17 a game, but I feel like 14 or 15 could be in the cards with throw in 4.5 assists. And like you mentioned, that on ball defense, yeah, you're going to have to take him seriously as a first team all conference guy if Illinois is a top 3 team in that league.
Yeah, and like I think, one of the things last year I was like, I thought Kasparis could have helped Kylan more. Also, Kylan could have helped Kasparis more because it felt like when one didn't have the ball in their hand, they weren't able to play off the other one. Like I was
Mhm.
like, Kasparis is all step back Jack with his 3-point
Right.
shots, and Kylan Boswell, I thought just if he was able to shoot better from three, being that guy that's off ball, being in the right spot, be ready to knock down a shot. Having a Mihailo Petrovic with him could possibly create for him. Even like, I mean, we've been hearing a lot of Keaton Wagler playmaking stuff. If he's able to play make, and then down low, this demands attention. I think that I expect Kylan Boswell's 3-point percentage to go up. And then to your point, I think he was very impressive. Even that loss in that last game to Kentucky. I mean, 23 points, 6 assists, three
Mhm.
rebounds. Like I know they lost that game, but he was one of the better players in that game. And I also think like just maturation wise for Kylan Boswell, there is a little bit of like this is it for me. You know what I'm saying? This is the last year. Champagne kid. We got some other pieces on this team, but like everyone's looking at me to be this guy. And it's funny how like when I saw this topic come across for us, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like Kylan Boswell, premier college basketball player. But then you take a step back and you're like, okay, deep breath here. Goose, you know what I'm saying? Goose for a ball. Uh, it's not as crazy as you think. So like,
Right.
to lean back on one of my favorite terms, I haven't used it in a while. I'm gonna throw it out here right now. Riley, I could see a world. I could see a world.
I could see a world. That world doesn't seem like it's in a distant galaxy either. It's not a world where you have to zoom out and see like a Hubble telescope photograph from space. It might just be a few planets over where that world might be.
Me ending with that and then you wrapping and bringing it full circle with Hubble telescope talk is why people should tune into this program and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Shout out to Kylan Boswell. I'm very excited for his senior year. And last but not least, there was a time last year where I said something about Kylan Boswell negatively, and he had a great game, and he clipped me, and I hit him with the A, touche, well done, salute, and he hit me with the yup, good. You know what? I had to talk my shit, and I was like, you know what? I like that. So shout out to Kylan Boswell. We'll be tuned in this season to possibly one of the more premier players in college basketball.